When I coached at Montverde, I was fortunate to walk into that situation, and I didn't have any preconceived notions about what Montverde basketball was or who the players were. And it wasn't because I was ignorant. It wasn't because I wasn't following the game. It's because this was 2009, and although Montverde had won a national championship in 2007, they were not the program that they are today. The media wasn't giving them the coverage that they give them today. So when I got down there, when I was walking into the gym, I was able to just evaluate the players based off what I saw, as opposed off of what I heard and what I knew about them before. So I was able to see after a couple of weeks, okay, he's getting recruited by Villanova. I can see why. He's going to Marquette. I can see why. He's going to Boston College. I can see why. He's going to Harvard. I can see why. Florida's interested in him. I was able to see who's a high major player, mid-major, low major, Division II. It was evident because I was coaching them. So when I was having conversations with one of the coaches, and they told me that our eighth man named Michael Avery, who was a sophomore and a 6'4" combo guard, was committed to Kentucky, I said, what? And Kentucky offered him when he was in the 8th grade. And I'm looking at Michael Avery, who at that point, he was a good high school player. But like I said, for that Montverde team, he was 8th man, 9th man at best. He was not a high major recruit. Yet, Billy Gillespie, when he took the job at Kentucky, saw Michael Avery play one tournament in Ohio in 8th grade and offered him a scholarship. And Michael Avery and his family accepted it. And he was committed to Kentucky in 8th grade. And it became a national story. So every single time Michael Avery played basketball, from that point forward, he had a target on his back because this dude's committed to Kentucky. And if I want to go to a school at that level, I got to take him out. And what that did for him psychologically, I was able to witness it firsthand. Michael Avery did nothing wrong. His family didn't do anything wrong. Billy Gillespie is the one who did something wrong. So I was able to see what happens when unfair expectations get attached to a kid too early based on his basketball development and what it leads to. Because Michael Avery ended up playing at a Division II in California named Sonoma State. I'm going to go into further detail about why Cooper Flagg being overrated is not his fault. Because y'all consistently keep commenting on my Cooper Flagg scouting report. And for some reason, I done pissed a lot of y'all off. And y'all bringing up a lot of issues that I didn't talk about. I literally just broke his game down from the basketball perspective. But if y'all want to have the conversation around the game, here we go.
My ducks, my swans, welcome to the pond.
Number one, talent evaluators aren't held accountable. I got a lot of love for Paul Biancardi. For those of y'all that don't know, in ESPN, the rankings they put out every single year with these high school players, Paul Biancardi is the one that's in charge of the boys basketball side. I think he might do a little bit with the girls, but I know he definitely does the boys. And Paul Biancardi is the reason that I was able to become a GA at VCU. So he's a great dude, phenomenal dude. I'm just speaking about this business and the position that he's in. Paul Biancardi, Jonathan Gavoni, Kristen Leak, whoever does it at Bleacher Report, all these people who are deemed these talent evaluation experts for these major media publications, they are not held accountable when things go wrong. Michael Avery got offered that scholarship by Billy Gillespie, but ESPN picked up the story. Lexington's newspaper picked up the story. Los Angeles Times picked up the story. New York Times picked up the story. So the media is the one that advertised and let everybody know that this is the kid that's going to Kentucky, putting his photo out everywhere. So they're the ones that put the target on his back. In the class of 2023, Justin Edwards was the #1 player on ESPN's Top 100 Seniors. He goes to Kentucky, which has proven that they are a one-and-done system. Coach Calipari has proven that. Yet, this past 2024 NBA draft, Justin Edwards, a one-and-done freshman, doesn't get drafted. How can somebody be the #1 overall high school recruit and he doesn't even get drafted? What did y'all do to Mikey Williams? Look how you set him up for failure. Where's Cliff Alexander today? And that list can go on and on and on and on. All these people inside this basketball ecosystem always want to tell you when they write. That dude, Dino Trigonometry or Trigonomics, whatever his name is out at Pangos, he's quick to tell y'all that he was the first one to find LeBron James. You didn't find LeBron James. God found LeBron James. LeBron James was popping in Ohio. You use LeBron James brand equity that these media platforms gave him and Gloria, his mom at the time, to elevate your camp. And you've been gassing parents up about that for 30 years, Dino. Stop the gas. But when a guy like Dino or Paul or John or Kristen or whoever it is, when they're wrong, who holds them accountable? Who goes back and looks at, hey, you're the one that put the target on these kids' backs. You're the one that put the expectation in these kids' heads. You're the one that's talking to these parents and letting them know what possibilities are out here. I've been there. I've been next to them. I've seen it. I've heard the conversations. And in this world of NIL and everything that's going on, if I'm the parent of a kid that's top 10 on ESPN, I'm not thinking about where he's going to go to college. I'm not thinking about the NBA. I got to think about where we at right now. How much can we get right now? What's the NIL deal we can get right now? Because NIL is legal in a lot of states for high schoolers now. And with that NIL deal comes expectations. Well, I'm not the one that set up all these metrics. Y'all the ones that said my son's a 5-star recruit, so that means that he deserves $1.7 million or whatever the arbitrary number is right now. And once this kid gets the money, if he gets to the school and he plays like a 2-star recruit, whose fault is that? That's not the kid's fault. That's not the parent's fault. That's the talent evaluator's fault. Who's holding these talent evaluators responsible? When you're wrong, what are you doing with the mental health of that player and his family? Because like I said, I saw the Michael Avery situation, and Michael Avery is a great kid. And I'm assuming based on how he did academically and how coachable he was, that he's doing great things with his life today. But his parents were not well equipped to handle what comes with having a high school basketball celebrity with a target on his back. There's an emotional element to that. There's a spiritual element to that. There's a mental element to that. What does ESPN or Bleacher Report or Yahoo or whoever does when the parents and the family start dealing with that? They do nothing. They're not held accountable. So that's why we get a situation like Cooper Flagg, where he goes and he makes 3 shots in a practice, the very first scrimmage with Team USA, and people are talking about he's a generational prospect. These expectations are not fair for Cooper. Shea Seals did the exact same thing versus the 1996 USA basketball team. Who? Shea Seals. Go look him up. My point exactly. And Paul Pierce scored 0 that same game, and Shea Seals had 20 versus Dream Team 3. So does that mean Shea Seals should have been drafted over Paul Pierce? Absolutely not. Based on the world we live in now, we listen to these talent evaluators, Shea Seals might have been. Number 2, and this aligns with number 1, basketball media is toxic. Because sports is the one thing in America that is appointment television and people are always going to be locked into live. The media around it is constantly has to have some sort of conversation that's going to generate clicks so they can get advertising dollars. So if you notice the way basketball media is, not just on television, but on social media as well, they're constantly politicizing everything. They politicize everything LeBron does. They turn this Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese thing into a political thing. They're constantly putting people against each other. And social media has done the exact same thing with Cooper Flagg. They have put him in this position where he represents something that we haven't seen that much. A white American basketball superstar that America really wants and needs. And to that, anytime that someone says he's not that good, he's overrated, he ain't better than this player, whoop, 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 it goes from being a basketball conversation to a race conversation. When you work inside of basketball, when you play basketball, you know that basketball court is the one place, especially for elite players, where race doesn't matter. When the lights turn on, can you play or not? That's all anyone cares about. But to people who don't compete and who aren't in these elite basketball circles, that's all that they do care about. Division, dissension, arguments, anger. And you see it inside the basketball media community non-stop. So all that does is it fuels the fire of whoever that athlete is. And when it's a white American basketball superstar, like a Caitlin Clark, like a Cooper Flagg, it feeds it even more. Caitlin Clark and Cooper Flagg ain't did nothing wrong, the same way that Michael Avery didn't do anything wrong. But all this noise around them is putting unnecessary stress and pressure and expectations in a place where it's almost impossible for them to reach. And that's a great segue for number 3. Cooper Flagg's done everything right. He's done everything. His family has done everything right. His mom has coached him right. His mom has coached his twin brother right. They did everything they were supposed to do in Maine. They knew Maine wasn't the place for him to get the exposure and the training and development at a high level, so they sent him down to the #1 basketball high school in the world in Montverde. He went down there and it was a perfect team for him where he was able to play his role and play into his strengths and stay away from his weaknesses. They put him not on a big-time Nike EYBL team like the Florida Rebels down there in Florida, but they had Nike make their Maine United team a Nike EYBL team. They didn't put them in 17s because they knew Cooper's twin brother, Ace Flagg, who just transferred out of Montverde, because now that Cooper's gone, what we need you for? That's just the reality. It's how this works. And everyone else who's around Cooper, who he grew up with, those dudes aren't high major recruits. So let's make sure we play in their age group. Let's make sure that he plays 16s. Cooper should not have been playing EYBL 16s going into his senior year. I know he reclassed, but they knew he was going to reclass. He should have been in 17s, and he should have faced all that smoke. But he didn't. He played 16s, and he absolutely dominated. So when people pull up these things about he had a quadruple double and he broke the scoring record and he had all these blocks, he was playing the JV of EYBL. But once again, I see why they did it. Because look at all the stuff it got him, right? He played the year before, 15s, and that allowed him to get on the Nike U17 team. And if you look at what our Nike U17 team did this past year with AJ Dybantsa and Cameron Boozer and Caden Boozer and Jalen Harleston, they won every game by 70 points. If you look at the history of our Nike U17 team over the past 12 years, they've never lost a game, ever. And their average margin of victory is 50 points plus. So Cooper went down there, played on a really good team, like everybody does with U17 basketball, and made the all-tournament team because he was able to do the things he's really good at. Weak side blocks, get out in transition, dunk, get deflections, everything that you're gonna do when you are completely outmatching your opponent. He went to Duke. From what I know, he signed a CAA. I'm not sure, but if he is, that's another great move. They have checked off all the boxes for Cooper. Checked off all the boxes. And since he's done everything right, it has led to the media acting like all of this hype is real. Cooper Flagg has a chance to be a good NBA player. He has a chance to win a lot of championships. He has a chance to be on some all defensive teams. He even has a chance to be on an all-star team or two. But y'all keep throwing out this term, generational prospect. That's not fair to him. I was born in 1984. You know how many generational prospects there's been? Michael Jordan was a generational prospect. He went 3rd. David Robinson, Shaq, some might have argued Chris Webber maybe, Allen Iverson, Yao because of what he did politically, LeBron, defensively maybe Dwight, Victor Wembanyama. Everybody else in that time span since 1984, they had to develop into becoming these elite NBA superstars. But those guys who I named, it's kind of like when you saw them, you knew this is a guy that we're probably not going to see this prototype for at least another 15 years. We're going to see another Cooper Flagg probably this year. Cooper Flagg's being compared to Andre Karolinko. That is not a generational prospect. In my opinion, he's more of an Aaron Gordon, who had a great high school career, had a great year at Arizona, and started off in Orlando and was a really good player. But now he's a 4-man for Jokic on a championship team. Probably won't ever make an all-star team. Definitely won't make the Hall of Fame, but will make a lot of money and will play in the NBA for a while. His floor, he's more of a Jan Vesely, somebody who was uber athletic for his size, something we really hadn't seen before. But when he got into the NBA, because they rushed everything so fast of getting him to the NBA as fast as he possibly could, he was not ready for the NBA and he had to go overseas, and now he's in the EuroLeague. He won the MVP of the EuroLeague a few years ago, but for the number 6 pick in the NBA draft, that's a failure. Cooper, you've done everything right. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep getting better. Keep taking on the challenge. Keep becoming the player that God's called you to be. You got to cancel out all the noise, including me, what I'm saying. But for the rest of y'all that keep feeding into this, all you're doing is making life more difficult for him. Evaluate him for the basketball player that he is, not for the basketball player that you want him to be. I'm out the pond. Y'all stay true.
Sunday gotta go. My uncle's car done hit a wall. I didn't believe it, I still had sleep and crust